Good morning, this is Marshall Davis. I'm recording this during a heat wave here in New Hampshire, just like the heat wave's been going across the whole United States. It's hitting us up in northern New England with temperatures in the mid-90s and humidity in the mid-80s. So it seems like a good day to stay inside and to record an episode. This episode I've entitled, I Am You and You Are Me. It may sound like I'm quoting the lyrics to the John Lennon song, I Am the Walrus. I am he, as you are me, and we are all together. There's also a rap by Zico with that title, I Am You, You Are Me. But I am not quoting song lyrics here. I am expressing the unitive awareness that we are all one. I wrote a blog recently entitled The Parable of the Chipmunk, in which I described my encounter with a chipmunk, or maybe more than one chipmunk, it's hard to tell them apart, who kept getting into our screen porch, regardless of how much I tried to patch up the holes in the screen to keep them out. What I did not talk about in that blog was my sense of camaraderie with this little guy. We were playing hide and seek with each other, and it was as if we both knew that. It doesn't take much interaction with other living creatures to feel that we are all very much alike. My wife loves to watch animal videos. I'm trying to read or write, and she keeps saying to me, you got to watch this, you got to see this one. I played no more cute animal videos, please. I'm trying to keep my train of thought. But I inevitably watch them, and when I do, it is clear that we humans are not really that much different than any other animals that we share this planet with. Whether that be cats and dogs, or monkeys, or chimpanzees, or gorillas, or mice, or birds, or whatever cute little creature happens to be starring in that video. It is clearly intelligence, and the same intelligence, that is animating all of us. I would say that the same consciousness is expressed through all these different bodies in different animal forms. And realizing that, seeing ourselves in that, is self-recognition. And that is self-realization. Now, we can see this in the birds that come to our feeders. The same consciousness that's in me is in them, and in all the other animals that parade through our yard at night, whether they be the fox or the bear or the coons or the possums, even the insects, even plants have intelligence as well. And microscopic organisms. We live in a world of consciousness, where one consciousness is expressed through all these various life forms. I look into the eyes of animals, and I see the same consciousness that is in me looking back at me from them. And it's clear there's no me and them. There's one consciousness. Just happens to be many bodies, or seemingly many bodies. But of course, there's no real separation. Everything is one. Everything is consciousness. This is the genius of indigenous spiritualities. And it is the truth behind spirit guides and what is sometimes called animism, which is awareness of spirits in all things, not only all living creatures, but seemingly inanimate objects like rivers and stones. It's the same truth seen in Christian mysticism. what we call God is this one consciousness. Meister Eckhart wrote in a sermon, "The eye through which I see God is the same eye through which God sees me. My eye and God's eye are one eye, one seeing, one knowing, one love." That is non-dual reality. That is non-dual awareness. Problems arise when we don't know that, when we believe that we really are separate creatures and species and ethnicities. That's a cause of conflicts between nations and races and religions and politics. We live in a spiritual unity, but we think and we really believe it is duality. That's the source of all spiritual problems, as well as all other types of problems: environmental and ecological problems, social problems, financial problems in the world, international problems including war and poverty and ideological clashes. The cure for all of humankind's problems is as simple as noticing the oneness that is always present everywhere. I notice that this truth is communicated in quite a few movies these days. I think that movies now are the new scriptures. I've been thinking about maybe even doing an episode on this, how films have taken the place of the Bible or other scriptures. People used to quote scripture all the time. Now people are quoting lines from movies all the time. And people watch the same films over and over and over again. They even memorize them, it seems. Just like the people used to read the Bible over again and memorize Bible passages. I've been watching the Apple TV series Dark Matter. I read the book by Blake Crouch earlier and I liked it, so when it was made into a series, I began to watch it. It's about the multiverse, which is a common topic these days. In this series, a man is kidnapped by his identical self from another universe, and it's all about him trying to get back home. It's really a parable of the spiritual search. We're trying to get back home. In this series, a man confronts himself in another body, and they look at each other, and they know they are the same. That they have the same consciousness. The Tom Cruise sci-fi movie Oblivion is about a man who discovers that he is a clone. Arnold Schwarzenegger has a film where he plays a man who's been cloned. It's entitled The Sixth Day, which is a reference to the biblical creation story. These characters in these films, and lots of others like them, are confronted with the fact that they are the other, even though they thought they were unique. That is the reality that we all live in. We are the other. We are all the same one. The same consciousness is looking out of your eyes as is looking out of my eyes. There is one consciousness looking out of the eyes of all creatures, whether they be humans or whether they be whales or otters or gorillas or anything else. I call that consciousness divine. And I call that consciousness God. Now, this does not mean that we all have the same memories or the same sense of a personal self. But behind all those superficial differences is the same intelligence. And this intelligence is the source of the universe. If you want to use theistic language and say the consciousness created the universe, the heavens and the earth, and that's fine. But creation assumes a separation between a creator and the creation. And there is in reality no separation. It just appears that way. All is one. Realizing that we are one being with a capital B, one ground of being, or being itself, one ultimate reality, and consciously experiencing that reality and living and dwelling in that and as that reality is the solution to all the problems of humankind. It is the solution to the crises that are in the headlines every day, whether that be the Gaza war, or climate change, or LGBTQ discrimination, or racial prejudice, or immigration, or right versus left in politics, or anything else that's tearing our nation apart and tearing the world apart. The root cause of all injustice and violence is duality. People really think that they are different from others whom they see as dangerous and a threat to them. But once those differences dissolve in non-dual awareness, then the way opens for a solution to human problems. This is the only real solution. All other seeming solutions are just stopgap measures, temporary ceasefires between groups who really believe that they're different and the other is an enemy and dangerous. This is why Jesus commanded us to love our neighbor as ourselves, because he knew that they are ourselves. This is why Jesus even commands us to love our enemies, which is a command that Christians routinely ignore and refuse to obey. So many Christians would rather take up arms and march to war as Christian soldiers rather than obey our commander-in-chief. Christians say that our commander-in-chief is Jesus Christ. I am you, and you are me, and we are Christ, and Christ is God. To know that is what Jesus prayed in his final prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane, according to the Gospel of John. Paul talks about that. He says that we are one body, which is Christ. And the verse by the Apostle Paul that I quoted so often in these episodes says this, as no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. Paul knew this unitive reality, even though sometimes he writes like he's forgotten it. Once we know that we are all one, then the hate and the fear and the anger and the violence falls away. The fearful negative emotions and thoughts cannot remain in us unless we feed that illusion. And if we do not feed those delusions, then they die. And reality is unveiled and clearly seen. All is one. We are one. And realizing that oneness, one person at a time, one seemingly separate person at a time, is the way to inner and outer peace. And that is it for today. Grace and peace to you.